What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Ben and Walker Movie Show. I'm your co host, Ben Davis, joined by my other co host, Walker Holt, and we're excited to have a conversation with you about a few of our favorite things in the world: Voltron, unicorns, of course, chimichangas, B. Arthur, and International Women's Day. Walker, are you strapped in or strapped on? Ready to go today?
I'm ready to roll. I'm ready to roll. I had a
Ready
good
to
time
roll?
watching this. It's Deadpool season.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Today we're joined by our good buddy and multiple time guest on the show, Ja-Bari Bryant. Man, how's it going?
It's been going really good. It's been going really good. Missed you guys. Sorry it's been so long since my last guest being a guest on the show, but it's good to be back. Can't wait to get into it today. Had a lot of fun rewatching this movie.
What was the
Yeah,
last time we
man.
were on? What was the last movie? I can't remember. Oh,
It must
Tropic
have been
Thunder.
Tropic Thunder. That was good. That
Yeah.
was fun. Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't break character on that until the DVD commentary, honestly.
We did not.
If this is your first time being here with us today, please make sure you hit that subscribe button, whether it's on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcast. And I highly recommend Spotify too, because we just mentioned Tropic Thunder. That's not on YouTube. That's on Spotify. So go listen to that. That was before we branched our and spread our wings a little bit to YouTube. And also give us a follow over on our social media pages at Ben and Walker Movie Show so you can stay up to date with all the latest content we have for you guys. We are on TikTok, Instagram, and Threads. We mostly stick to Instagram, though. Also, just in case I forget to mention this, if you are watching on YouTube, please comment down below with your thoughts on today's show. I'm pegging you. I mean, I'm begging you. It really helps a ton. It really helps a ton. So today, obviously, Walker just told you guys what we're discussing, and also it's in the title. We're discussing 2016's Deadpool in honor of Deadpool and Wolverine hitting theaters this weekend. It's our only big Marvel release this year, at least on the big screen. So it's exciting. Deadpool is directed by Tim Miller and stars Ryan Reynolds, Marina Baccarin, Ed Skrein, T.J. Miller, Gina Carano, Brianna Hillebrand, Stefan Kapachnik, and Leslie Uggams. I think that's how you say that name. If you aren't familiar with Deadpool, the plot synopsis reads like such according to Google. Wade Wilson is a former special forces operative who now works as a mercenary. Work with the mouth. His world comes crashing down when evil scientist Ajax, dish soap, tortures, disfigures, and transforms him into Deadpool. The rogue experiment leaves Deadpool with accelerated healing powers and a twisted sense of humor. With the help of mutant allies Colossus and Megasonic Teenage Warhead, Deadpool uses his new skills to hunt down the man who nearly destroyed his life. So, guys, when was your introduction to the character of Deadpool? Walker, let's start off with you, man.
It was in X-Men or Wolverine or whatever it was when he came out. Did they see him in like an elevator and then with his mouth sewn shut?
Yeah.
That was the first I'd ever heard
Yeah.
of
Oh,
him.
yeah. Yeah.
I we've talked about it a bunch on the show. I'm not a comic guy or even really a superhero guy outside of just the big movies. And you say there's no big releases. You're not considering Agatha Harkness a big release this year.
Nah. I think the trailer looked good though.
This was my first. I mean, Deadpool and X-Men, or I don't even remember which movie it was in, but that was my first introduction, and then this movie.
What about you, Ja-Bari?
I think I grew up watching like the Spider-Man and the X-Men like shows that like the X-Men 97 was built off of. And
Oh
I
yeah.
never really saw Deadpool in that. I think he had like a small cameo on one of that, but I kind of like just always knew about him, but never really like got into it. Probably like Walker, like my first real experience was like the time leading up to the movie of the X-Men Origins movie. But I remember it was this one like Wolverine versus the Hulk, like straight to DVD animation.
Yep.
And that was like my first real taste of Deadpool. I think that was like right around the same time the X-Men Origins movie came out. and I was like, this dude is hilarious. Like, and I think like Nolan North like voiced him, and he was like kind of like the animated voice for Deadpool. Like, you know how like Ryan Reynolds is like the live action version of him.
Mm-hmm.
Like Nolan North just had him down, and like I've been in love with the character ever since. I think Nolan North did the video game too.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think he did as well. So like I talked about on our last episode that we did Walker for Spider-Man 2, I started to really get into comics around 2003, 2004, mostly because I loved superheroes. I was a huge movie fan, and there was just a, a, a bunch of superhero adaptations starting to pile up, but also because I used to collect a series of action figures called Marvel Legends, and they still make them today. But back in the day, they came with comic books. And one of the figures that was always, I called it a peg warmer because it was always there, was the Deadpool figure. And I always would get close to buying it, but like, I didn't know who he was. I loved the design. I thought it was cool. I thought the name was cool because it's like the name of the last uh, Dirty Harry movie, The Deadpool. So I was like,
Hmm.
okay, maybe there's some type of connection there. There isn't, not really, anyway. Um, and it wasn't really until like around 2006 there was this game that came out called Marvel Ultimate Alliance. Uh, Game was awesome, and you could essentially form your team of 4 with like 65 characters or something like that. And my team up that I would always do was Wolverine, Blade, Ghost Rider, and Deadpool. Because Deadpool could you could spam this one move with him, which is where he would spin around and shoot his guns, and it was just almost like a human cheat code. But in that game, I really, like you said, Ja-Bari, like I thought he was hilarious. I was like, man, this guy is irreverent and right up my alley. He's right up my alley. So that's really my first real introduction to the character and who he was and what he stood for and all that stuff. And like you guys mentioned, your first introduction to him was the X-Men Origins
Hmm.
Wolverine movie. So how did you guys feel about his first on-screen appearance and that particular adaptation of the character?
Like when I first saw Deadpool, like at this point, like comic book movies were just kind of like they didn't really follow the source material, so I wasn't really surprised that they like
Yeah.
butchered them at all. I was like, this doesn't feel right. Even Gambit in that movie, like it didn't feel right. And the
Look what they did to
whole
my boy.
turn
They
him into
massacred
Deadpool
my
and like getting
boy.
everybody's powers, I was like, that wasn't really his shtick. So like
Yeah.
I did like Ryan Reynolds before the whole surgery or whatever, like when they put him in the program, like that was more Deadpool than like what we got at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I mean that was my introduction to it, so I didn't have much of a basis to go on to where it was ruined or anything. It wasn't very exciting. I wasn't blown away by the character or anything. In retrospect, after seeing the newer films and the newer like portrayals, yeah, it seems like a waste. It seems like this character has a lot to offer, and they didn't offer it in the Origins movie.
Yeah, it's a funny story. When I first saw this movie, I was really pumped for uh, X-Men Origins Wolverine because it's number one. It was the first X-Men movie to come out since The Last Stand. Number two, loved Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. Number three, it was going to have Gambit in it, and four, it was going to have Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool, who didn't love Blade Trinity, but I thought he was great in in it, and I thought he was really good as Hannibal King. And I was really pumped for it. I thought it was going to be really good, but man, it's a lesson of not taking a character and completely like messing him up, doing it's like acting on every instinct to not do. You know what I mean? Like it was taking the character and completely doing everything that's against it, like to the point of showing his mouth shut. It's the merc with the mouth. That's the whole
Yeah.
bit. It's it's a lesson of that. But like you said, like the elevator scene and all that stuff, like really good. But they
Yeah.
really, really, really butchered the character. I mean, at the end, he's teleporting around, shooting lasers out of his eyes. It's like, what is this?
It
Oh,
was
I
very
forgot about
mid.
all that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
My big
it
thing
was
was sewing his
very.
mouth shut. That
That was crazy.
I didn't I mean, that would have been a fine like trope to do in the middle of one of these movies as like like as like a juxtaposition or something where like all of a sudden now it's like, oh man, the reason I like this character is he's taken away his whole personality and then he gets it back or something. But
Yeah.
we didn't have enough of him to earn that in the
No.
original appearance.
No. It was. I mean, they tried to make up for it at the end with the whole post-credit scene of him reaching for his head, and then you see him go shh like that, shushing the crowd. But it led to nothing except for this movie being in development hell, because they initially announced that they were going to do a spinoff. Rhett Reese and Paul Warnick wrote a script. At one point, Robert Rodriguez was on to direct it, or in talks to direct it, but then he eventually dropped out due to just not wanting to do it anymore, I think. And it became one of those movies that was kind of lost in development hell for a very, very long time. Tim Miller came on to direct it eventually, and I think by like 2012 it lost all its momentum. Really, there was just nothing. It was one of those movies from like 2009 to really 2012. It was constantly in the news cycle of, oh, they're in production, or oh, they're in talks to direct, they're talking about making it, but it never happened until the test footage leaked in July of 2014. And then they eventually announced the movie to be made, I think in September of 2014 due to popular demand. So were you guys excited when they finally decided to make this movie after many stops and starts and with that test footage leak?
I was. I again, I wasn't like super like, oh, Deadpool's going to be great because I love Deadpool. But I mean, and I don't remember the timeline here on when it was announced and the footage leaked and when the rating was announced. But I remember like at least learning that they were making an R-rated, you know, they were taking a different approach with this movie, and I thought it was going to be, and that really excited me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was excited because like when the X-Men Wolverines movie came out, it was kind of in that weird 2000 superhero era where like they were just throwing stuff at the wall and seeing if it would stick. But by the time the test footage had leaked, like Fox had kind of like rebranded it with like the whole First Class movies,
Mm-hmm.
and so I was like, this has got to, it's going to be good because like they kind of went in a different direction and kind of rebooted the universe in a way. So I was like, I had hope, especially after seeing like the screen test, and like how dope it was and how like they actually stayed true to like the costume, which like for some reason like during that time it was just so hard for comic book movies to just adapt like the source material and use the costume. It's like they were allergic to it. And it's just like around that time, we're just like, we can't use the costume. It's going to be too childish. It's not going to work on the big screen. And they found a way. So I definitely had some hype for me behind it.
Yeah, the marketing campaign, you kind of touched on it a little bit, Walker, with the whole R rating thing. Like I remember was it Mario Lopez where he like smashed him in the head with a TV or something like that, and it said Deadpool's definitely gonna be rated R. And then there was also that like Halloween thing he did in like I think it was 2014 where kids were dressing up as X-Men characters and he was doing like profane stuff like around the kids and like giving them scissors while they're like swinging in the swing and pushing them and going like, there you go. There you go. Like just really irreverent stuff in the marketing campaign. It was almost like this guerrilla marketing campaign of like word of mouth going
Yeah.
into it, where it was this year of build up, or a little bit over a year and a half of build up to when it finally was released. So what did you guys think when you first saw Deadpool?
Oh man, I saw it in theaters like maybe like a week after it came out, and at that point, everybody's like, "This is like one of the best hero movies like in recent memory." And so I was very excited, and when I went, I just wasn't disappointed. Like, had such a good time. It was nothing like Fox had done to that point with it being rated R and like the gore, and we hadn't seen gore in a superhero movie since the Blade movies. I can't think of anything since Blade between Deadpool
Punisher
that was like
Warzone was about it. Yeah.
that was about it. Yeah. But just like the body like mutilation and everything throughout the movie, I was like, yes, this is exactly what we needed. I had a lot of fun. Walking out of it, I was not disappointed walking out of the theater.
No.
What's the show that just came out? That they were supposed to be like an R-rated type series with the
Oh,
Echo.
Echo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's brutal. I loved it. I thought it was great right away. I mean, it was something. It was original. It was unique. It was something I hadn't seen before. It was something I craved at the time and probably still do. Um, I mean, I loved it. I don't remember if I saw the first one in theaters or not. Uh, you would think I would have, but I just can't remember. But no, I didn't because I don't think I watched it until it was released. But I enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was everything I wanted.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite movie theater experiences, honestly, cuz I remember going with a group of my buddies to go see this movie. It was opening night. Theater was packed out. And it's like one of those experiences when you sit in a theater and it's like touching a live wire, like where it feels like you're at a concert almost. The atmosphere is just like pulsing. And the theater was in constant eruptions of laughter and all sorts of other reactions during this movie, and it was so good. I remember going back. Carly and I went to go see it like the Sunday, and it was still a packed out show, and it was everything I I could have wanted from a Deadpool movie. It was fantastic. I loved it when I first saw it. Absolutely loved it. Um, if this movie, is this movie and its success responsible though for kind of reviving Ryan Reynolds, who I don't want to say maybe not even reviving, but kind of boosting his career after like a slump post Green Lantern? Because that's one of the biggest takeaways I have with this movie is that Ryan Reynolds has always been like Hollywood has its guys that they kind of like handpick that they try to make a star, right? In the
Hmm.
early 2000s, you had a bunch of them. Chris Evans was one of them. Um, the guy who played Gambit, Taylor Kitsch, was a guy they tried to make a thing. Sam Worthington was a guy they tried to make a thing. Ryan Reynolds kind of falls into that as well, and he kind of post Green Lantern had like a career slump a little bit where there wasn't a whole lot that he did that was very successful. Like just looking at it right here, you had like Green Lantern, Change Up, which I like the Change Up, but it didn't. I don't think it did super well. And then you have Safe House, which is like a fine action movie with him and Denzel. And then you have stuff like Crudes and Turbo, which is voice work, and then R.I.P.D. Not very good. Million Ways to Die in the West, which is kind of an uncredited cameo, similar to what he did with Ted. Mississippi Grind was good, but it's Selfless was one of those movies as well, 2015. But this movie is really what spawned the Ryan Reynolds we have today, which is one of the biggest stars in Hollywood. I think this movie's pretty responsible for that. What do you guys think?
I think he was already a household name, but as like the years passed and like kids got really into superhero movies, they didn't really know about Ryan Reynolds. Like the older generations did, like we did. I
Van
used to love him
Wilder.
in like the Yeah,
just
and I think he even
friends.
broke the
Yeah,
fourth wall and banned water a lot. So like it was like that DNA was always there. So like him
yeah,
getting Deadpool wasn't a surprise. But I do think it kept him relevant. I wouldn't say it got him out of the slump, but it kind of he used this to kind of stay relevant. Plus, he's like dating like one of the most beautiful women in the world, so he was always
yeah,
around. Like nobody forgot about Ryan Reynolds. But as far as his movie career, it kept that going. I feel like he's never stopped being relevant, but it kind of helped those years with those kind of B C plus movies keep him going.
yeah.
I think I agree completely. I mean, it's so hard for me to consider Ryan Reynolds not on top of the world. I mean, he's so successful. I mean, in every venture of his life, business and
Hmm.
sports and or I guess that's business, but in Hollywood. But I mean, looking at the list, I mean, you're not wrong. I mean, he wasn't thriving in Hollywood for a couple years after Green Lantern, even though he had already made a career and has since
Yeah,
made a career. So I guess I mean, in terms of Hollywood, it did reassure, I guess maybe is the word, reassure that he has a place at the top of Hollywood.
that's a better word because it,
Yeah.
like you guys said, he didn't go anywhere. It's not like it revived his career. His career wasn't dead. Like he was getting constant work. He was still in stuff. Like you said, personally, he was living his best life. Like he's always been there, but this kind of cemented him as like a cornerstone of Hollywood and actors and superstar. Really, like I can't think of a more famous actor really at the moment than him. Everyone knows Ryan Reynolds. Everyone loves Ryan Reynolds. He's everywhere. He's a marketing genius
Yeah.
and incredibly savvy. He is so savvy and one of the funniest dudes you'll ever hear in an interview. Just wit and charm just bursting out of him. It is insane that someone could, be as witty and as charming as he is.
Yeah. Another thing I think this movie did was help like we said, it let Hollywood know that he had leading man potential because he was always paired off with someone else. Like a lot of those movies, he was, I don't want to say the comic relief, but he had somebody who was the brooding, serious, usually like an Oscar worthy kind of actor that he was being paired with. Whether that be female or a male, he was always like the one that did lighten the mood to somebody else's seriousness.
Yeah.
And now like this movie it shows that he can be a leading man and he's like he has different directions he can go. He's just not like the funny guy who's also like ripped out his mind and like in shape.
Yeah. Yeah. He's always in shape, man. Him and Hugh Jackman. They're just always in shape and I call Hugh Jackman huge jacked man. He's a big guy. Um One of the best things about this film too that stands out is the romance. And the comic book genre is not known for having great romance. So, do you guys think this is the best on-screen romance in comic book movies?
I think he might be. That was one of the things I noted when I was like thinking about it critically, that it was not stale, it was not lame. It was interesting and unique, and I cared. And yeah, you're right. I mean, I think it was good for any movie, but you're right. Comic book movies tend to fall a little flat in that world, and this was fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. I can't think of one that's better off the top of my head right now. A lot of the comic book movies start with like boy meets girl when they're kids. They have a separation. They reconnect right around the time kid gets superpowers, and and so this movie really shows like the adult attraction because a lot of it started out physical, and the way they showed it like progressed through the sex they were
Yeah.
having from it being like a physical relationship to like oh shit they really love each other. And it just, even though this is like one of the most out there movies, it was one of the realest like relationship development that I've seen in a movie because like I mean you meet a girl in a bar or like a mercenary
Yeah.
hideout, like that's about as real as you're going to get it, and they really did a good job showing that, and like the love connection that he had for her throughout the rest of the movie just kind of it was believable.
Yeah.
A lot more believable than like Bruce Wayne and like Rachel's relationship from the Dark Knight movies. Like that was so bad. It just didn't make like why is he even in love with her? Like it just didn't make sense. And it was even better than like the Peter Parker Mary Jane. Like it fit and it made sense.
Yeah, so when I wrote this question and I started thinking about it, there are a lot more that come to mind that are pretty good. Like you mentioned, Mary Jane and Peter. I think all three of the Spider-Men have like really good chemistry and romances. In particular, Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone. Uh, I think that's excellent. I'm a big fan. I know maybe not a lot of people are, but I love Henry Cavill and Amy Adams and Man of Steel and BVS and Zack Snyder's Justice League. I think that relationship is really good. You have Cap and Peggy. That's really sweet. Maybe not as like deep, but it's very, very sweet. And another one would be Peter and Gamora. I really like that one. And Tony and Pepper.
That's a good one.
But this one to me is the best because it feels the witty banter back and forth, the idea that these are two very damaged people clearly that have this dark sense of humor that there's no judgment there. There's no judgment, there's only love. And that's the thing that makes this movie sing, like Deadpool says, like, this is a love story, and he's not wrong. He's not wrong. Like it is a love story. That's really the beating heart of this movie is their relationship. And if that doesn't work, if you don't care about that, then the movie's not gonna work. And it is Ryan Reynolds and Maria Bakarin's chemistry on top of what's on the written page that makes this romance, I think, and you guys agree, that the best romance in comic book movies in a genre that, I named a couple that stand out, but this is the best, I think. But how do you guys ultimately feel about Deadpool 8 years removed from its success and looking towards his inclusion in the MCU canon?
It holds up very well. Like after 8 years, like you can watch this 10 years. It's kind of like how we joked about Tropic Thunder. Like you can watch this anytime. It still holds up. The jokes,
Yeah,
like it's offensive. It's kind of in that same realm where it's like you still laugh at the jokes even though they could be offensive to somebody. But it's just a fun movie. As far as like the MCU canon and him like getting added to it, that's hard because MCU really did anything R-rated yet, and
no.
I mean this is just kind of like their first foray into it. So I'm interested in seeing that. I mean, as long as they keep Ryan Reynolds, I think it'll work. What about you, Walker?
So I was nervous about it. I hadn't seen it in a while, and I like Ryan Reynolds a lot, and I think he a lot of the time has his finger on the pulse and is very he gets it. He's funny for what's now, but sometimes you run the risk of when your finger's too on the pulse, 10 years later, it dates itself pretty bad. He's been victim of it a couple times. I mean, movies that were a big deal to my age group at the time, like Van Wilder and Waiting and stuff like that, don't really hold up today. Like when you watch them today, you're like, oh god, like that was so, and I was pretty nervous that I hadn't seen this in a while, couldn't remember a lot of the jokes, that this was going to be similar, and it really wasn't. I mean, I was pleasantly surprised that it was. I thought it was hilarious the whole way through. I thought the action was badass. I thought the humor was hilarious. I thought the romance was good. I mean, it held my attention, and I cared about it. I really, really enjoyed the movie. And in terms of the MCU, I think I hope it works out. God, I hope it's the jump start that we need, the bullet in the asshole that we need to get the MCU
right up Main Street.
Yeah,
yeah. I'm with you guys, man. This movie still feels so fresh. There is not a moment wasted. And we'll get into it in our award section a little bit more, but this movie is so pitch perfect in terms of its tone and its execution and how tight it is. This movie knows exactly what it wants to be, and it is it. And it's funny, it's crass, it's dark, it's violent, it's gross, it is irreverent, it is everything you want it to be. But if it was just those things, then it could be a little bit shallow. This movie has so much heart in it and so much love poured into it that that's what takes it to the next level. It's not afraid to be serious when it needs to be serious. It's irreverent still, not losing sight of who the character is and what the character is, but it's never afraid to be emotional and to get emotional. And like I said, that romance is really the beating heart of the film. And if that doesn't work, then the movie itself doesn't work. And it still works. I still find myself getting invested in their connection and their romance, their relationship. And as far as the MCU is concerned, I agree with you, Walker. I feel like this is the bullet straight up the ass that Marvel needs right now. They really need it. And because I don't subscribe to the theory that Marvel has been completely bad, but I do think it has been so up and down that it's hard to decipher where they're at. And they need something like Deadpool and Wolverine to really re-engage the audience. And so far, it looks freaking great. So I'm pumped. I'm still got my fingers crossed that Channing Tatum will show up as Gambit. Still got my fingers crossed. We'll see.
That'd be cool. Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, can I add to one of your points, Ben,
Yeah.
about like the romance being like the beating heart of the movie? Like there really is no B or C plot. There's no other like. This really like that's it. Like it stayed focused on that, and I think that helped the movie out a lot. And I think the MCU's problem with a lot of their movies is there's like 10 plots going on at once, and you have to keep up with all of them because it's going to lead into something else. And I'm pretty sure Ryan Reynolds and the rest of the team, the writers, made this movie not knowing if they were going to get a sequel or not, just depending like on how successful the movie was. And they focused on the main plot, didn't try to set anything up, really took every pop shot they could at the Fox X-Men universe that they could to get it all
McAvoy
out
or
there.
Stewart.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that helped a lot because it kept our focus on the romance and the relationship and just getting your princess back, getting your girl back. Was like, and we were right behind him the entire time, and like his motivation made sense, like, and it just worked. So I hopefully MCU keeps like that part of like Deadpool keeps his like one track mind focused and don't try to like branch him off and doing too many different things because it can get very muddy really quick.
Yeah.
Good point.
That is a very good, a very, very good point. And also one of the concerns I have going into Deadpool and Wolverine. Just stay focused.
And this one was so, I mean, you nailed it. I mean, this one really, you're right. It's all about the love story because when you really break it down, the actual plot is there's not much there. I mean, it's pretty. I mean, it's just revenge for fucking him up, and and somehow it really, really gets escalated. But it gets really there's no world at stake. There's no there's just like kind of a relationship and an ugly mug at stake, really, the whole time.
Well, it's because we care so much about the romance is why the stakes feel so big.
Yeah.
Right? And yeah, that focus is what it really needs. And I think that's what made this movie appeal to such a big audience and why this movie is held in such high regard. It's got an 85% currently on Rotten Tomatoes, with the consensus being fast, funny, and gleefully profane. The fourth wall busting Deadpool subverts superhero film formula with a wildly entertaining and decidedly non family friendly result. Do you guys agree with this score?
Yeah, I do. I mean, when I try to rate every movie I watch on 1 to 100, and I ended up on an 88.
Nice, nice.
Yeah, 85 is perfect for this. I think, like we just said, I mean, it knows what it is. It doesn't take itself too seriously. It doesn't meander and stay on one point for too long. It just goes from beginning to end. You will be entertained. Is the acting like top tier? Is it a masterpiece? No, but that's the point of the movie. Like you're there. It's a roller coaster ride. It's fun. It's dangerous. And you're alive at the end. And that's like really all you can hope for.
Yeah, I'm really high on this movie. I'm probably somewhere around like the 93, 4, 5 range. Very, very high on this. Because it's just it's so concise, it's so direct, and it works. And that is why I'm so high on it. There's not a lot. There's not fat on the bone. It's lean. It's mean. It's funny. It's heartfelt. It's irreverent. It is everything you could want in a Deadpool movie. And again, I think that's why people like my father-in-law love Deadpool, and my father-in-law is not a big comic book movie fan. That's not his thing. But Larry loves him some Deadpool. And he got me this giant controller thingy for Christmas one year, so because he knows that I like Deadpool. So Larry's the man. But that's why it is I think held in such high regard, and that's why it has such a big audience. But let's move into some fun facts here, guys. Through a Make-A-Wish Foundation, 13-year-old Connor McGrath, a terminally ill fan from Edmonton, requested to attend the special event for Deadpool in January, which turned out to be one of the 2 special screenings in New York and Los Angeles for fans. He couldn't make it due to the severity of his illness. Ryan Reynolds heard the story, traveled to Edmonton, and surprised him with a private special screening of the film. Reynolds said the boy was the first person to ever see the film. They kept in touch until Connor's passing a few months later. Reynolds paid tribute to him on his social media pages. This is something, too, that, we talked about Ryan Reynolds, just being, a great actor and just having his finger on the pulse and also just being a marketing genius. But he also appears to be just an incredible human being, because he always is doing stuff like this for fans, especially for kids. He just seems to really be a very special and genuine person that does good things for people. I think that it's really one of the sweetest stories. I didn't know about this. I was researching it while researching the movie, and it's really, really sweet and really special.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think there's going to be a theme here of Ryan Reynolds being a good person and going above and beyond.
Yeah.
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 I mean, I being a kid and being the first to see the movie, I mean, that's awesome. Big ups to Ryan Reynolds and the rest of the team to making that happen. I know they made those last few months a little easier for that kid. It's my first time hearing this story too, and like that's awesome.
Yeah, really special. When 20th Century Fox refused to pay the writers of the film, Rhett Reese and Paul Warnick, for on-set input, Ryan Reynolds paid out of pocket for them to be on set to look over the film. Reese stated, "We were on set every day. Interestingly, Ryan wanted us to be there. We were on the project for 6 years. It was a core creative team of us. Ryan and director Tim Miller. Fox, interestingly, wouldn't pay us to be on set. Ryan Reynolds paid us out of pocket, out of his own pocket." Again, Ryan Reynolds just going above and beyond to be a great person and also someone who has his finger on the pulse, someone who's paying attention, someone who's watching and is like, no, this is our creative team. We're going to be together. We're going to do this. We're going to bet on ourselves. We've been on this. We need our writing team. This is why they're credited as the real heroes in the title sequence. Like,
yeah. He's also just being an ambassador of his own project. I mean, he
yeah,
believes in it and wants to give it its best shot, and he understands what it's going to take.
yeah.
Yeah, I remember around the release of the movie, a lot of like the interviews and stuff, and some of the articles I was reading said if it wasn't for Ryan Reynolds, this movie wouldn't have happened. It was like his passion to get it done and make it happen. Because, like Ben said, it was in development hell for a long time. It was in that same file 13 bin that Spider-Man 4 and the Gambit movie was in. I was just like, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But to hear that the reason why it did happen was because Ryan Reynolds paid out of his own pocket. I mean, it just adds to like his just legend. You just don't see actors outside of Tom Cruise do stuff like that.
No, it's very rare that you see actors do stuff like this. Going back to Ryan Reynolds on this one, Ryan Reynolds' full body makeup took 8 hours to apply. Once it was on, he was not able to sit or lie down. That sounds like torture.
That's crazy.
That's a
Hell.
full day.
And I guess
That's
you
a
only have to.
full day.
I'm trying to think of how many scenes are him in full body. I mean, probably the fire scene. Is that it?
Yeah, the fire scene.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, he's doing the nude fight scene. That is.
Yeah. You don't have to method act when you actually are Deadpool. You can't, like everything you do is pain.
Yeah. There's no method acting involved. He used that superior Ryan Reynolds acting method to get that through.
Did I read something about originally his body, like his suit had, I don't know if you put this in the notes later, but his suit had like kind of like the muscle insertions for his
Yeah,
original Deadpool
I read
suit,
that too.
but they had to take him out because he was already just too jacked to have the muscle insertions in there, and he was like without it. I thought that was awesome.
It's the perfect suit. Like when you look at like a Deadpool page, and then you look at what they did with it live action, it's such a beautiful looking suit. I think aside from Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man costume, it's probably the best looking superhero costume. Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. I agree.
Yeah. In the scene where Ryan Reynolds is dealing with the stalker, the pizza, delivery guy, Wade is wearing a t-shirt with a portrait of B. Arthur on the front. This is a reference to the fact that in the comics, Deadpool has an affection for B. Arthur. Don't we all, though? Let's be honest. Don't we all?
Yeah.
And the Golden Girls. I love that show. According to Ryan Reynolds on the Blu-ray commentary track, it cost $10,000, which went to charity, to get approval to use the image. God. Totally worth it. Totally worth it. I thought about wearing a B. Arthur shirt for today's pod, and I stuck with my Deadpool sweatshirt.
Nice. That is funny.
You got a shirt for everything. Every time we record, you're wearing something. I was like,
I do, man. My shirt game is strong. My shirt game is strong. You know, I suck in other departments, but shirts, good to go. But yeah, totally worth it. Totally worth it. This became the first R-rated movie to have a 3-day opening weekend of over 100 million at the U.S. box office, which such films like The Matrix Reloaded and The Passion of the Christ had earned well over 100 million by the end of their first weekend release. Those movies opened wide on the Wednesday before the official opening on the weekend. Deadpool had only 7 p.m. and 10 p.m. screenings before its wide release on the Friday. So impressive.
The marketing worked.
Yeah, the marketing really worked. It was like a sold out screening for both that I was at when I went to go see this. It was a sold out screening.
I think that's why I waited a week after it was out, because I think it was tough for me to get a seat. So I just waited. I mean, the hype was still there the week I went, even though I waited a week. It still was a packed theater. Probably a lot of people seeing it again. Honestly,
it had like a $155 million weekend. or $150 million weekend, something like that, which is insane for an R-rated movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's almost as much as Inside Out 2 just did, a family movie. Like that's crazy. Producer Simon Kinberg stated in an interview that Olivia Munn auditioned for the role of Vanessa, and that audition resulted in Munn being cast as Psylocke and X-Men Apocalypse. And I can honestly see her being Vanessa. I could see that.
I can too. She's usually got that dry,
Mm-hmm.
that witty kind of. I don't know what the word is, but the cynical kind of vibe to her and a lot
Yeah,
of
Witty
stuff.
banter. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like she
and
could
she
go toe to
knows.
toe.
And she knows a lot about like that kind of like comic book, video game culture that would have kept the dialogue fresh the way that the other Vanessa actor would have. It would have worked. I feel like they might have had her do a little bit more action. 'Cause, I mean, maybe that's why they're like, you'd probably be better for Solid because we need you to do some flips and stuff. So like,
Yeah.
I, I do think her role as Psylocke in like the Apocalypse movie, it was a lot shorter than I thought it would be. So that kind of
It's
sucks for her.
disappointing. Yeah. She should have
Mhm.
been a way bigger part
Yeah,
in
but
that for sure.
speaking of cancer, I think she just beat breast cancer.
She
Um,
did.
yeah,
Yeah, congratulations to her. That's awesome. Cancer is awful. Absolutely is. I am way too familiar with that terrible disease. Screenwriter Rhett Reese and director Tim Miller credited James Cameron and David Fincher for helping the movie get made. Both directors read and loved early drafts of the script and used their long history with 20th Century Fox Studios to convince executives to give the movie a go. Fox initially consented to a PG-13 version, PG-13 version only, but agreed to an R rating after some budget cuts. They even did like they cut, I think, a couple days before shooting, like $10 million. I think this movie had like a $55 million budget.
wow.
They made it work. I mean, they looks
Yeah.
great.
They made, was it 780 million worldwide or something like that?
That's crazy for an R-rated movie.
Yeah, it's insane. Yeah, I have the actual number here. Let's see, highest grossing R-rated films according to Wikipedia. Let's see how much it grossed. Deadpool grossed $782 million worldwide.
Nuts.
Insane. It leads us into the final fun fact we got here. Upon its release, Deadpool was the highest grossing R-rated film of all time. It is now fourth, just behind. What do you guys think it's behind?
Oppenheimer.
Okay, that's one of them. That's at 2.
Yeah, just recency bias. I'd say Oppenheimer. That's the only thing I can think of right now.
It's Deadpool 2 at 3 with 785
Oh, duh.
by just a little bit. Oppenheimer with 9,706 or 9,076. And then you have Joker
Oh,
at number
yeah.
one with $1 billion.
What do
I
you think will
probably
make
guess
more?
one.
Deadpool 3 or Joker 2?
Joker. Oh no. Deadpool 3 for sure. Hey, sorry.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with.
Won't be close.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Deadpool and Wolverine on this one. I think the first Joker was one of those zeitgeist films that everyone wanted to go see. Everyone had to go see it. I went to go see it multiple times. It was just one of those movies that just captured the consciousness of public at the time. And when is it jokey when Joker Folie à
Jokey.
Deux, yeah, when Joker Folie à Deux comes out, I'm sure people are going to be real pumped to see Lady Gaga as Harley Quinn, and I'm pretty pumped to see that as well. But that's a very dark, sinister kind of movie. I think it's going to make a lot of money. Deadpool and Wolverine is a different beast. You have Hugh Jackman coming back when everyone thought he was done, and you have X-Men are going to be in Marvel. Like, this is going to be the movie that probably brings in the X-Men to the MCU, even though they've already kind of had some things here and there. I think this is the movie that's really going to kickstart it.
Yep.
I think that this is going to gross more than Joker thought it would do. Even though I think that movie is going to be a big hit, but I think very dark, very dark. I'm not sure if at that time people are going to be wanting something that dark, But yeah, interesting fun facts for this one. Not as many as I thought. Still a lot of cool things. We briefly touched on the leak a little bit with the leak footage. That was crazy. They still do not know who leaked that. Like, if you were to guess, who do you think leaked that stuff?
The studio, for sure.
You think the studio did it on purpose?
Yeah, kind of
Just
like,
to check the pulse.
I mean, they do it for video games all the time. I feel like the studio's like, oh yeah, we got hacked and like our trailer got leaked and here it is. And it's like pretty much done. And I feel like it was around the same time that Ant-Man was Ant-Man, the test footage for him got leaked too. And
Yeah, it was around that time.
it just, I don't know. I feel like it was orchestrated in a way where like maybe they didn't leak it themselves, but maybe they put it out there for a silver platter for somebody to find it.
Yeah, Tim Miller denies it profusely. Ryan Reynolds says he doesn't know who did it, but is very thankful. And Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick have said that they think it's like an executive that did it.
Inside job for sure.
Who knows? But I think you're probably right. If we had to speculate, who did this? It might have been done on purpose. Might have been done on purpose to gauge the pulse, see where we're at. But let's move on to the awards section, guys. We're going to start off with best scenes and moments. I edited this one down as much as I could, but could only get it down to 13. That happens from time to time with me. Opening credits. It's genius.
I think it was great. I forgot about it. I thought it held up, and it was very funny.
Really freaking funny.
Oh yeah,
and also cool looking.
Yeah. There's it. I still remember when I first saw it in theaters. What am I looking? Oh, this is a bit. They're doing this, and it was great. God's Perfect Idiot, some douchebag's film. Yeah, a moody teen.
Yeah,
the sexiest man alive cover with Ryan Reynolds on it.
A CGI character.
Yeah,
it's a British villain. Was
Ajax.
It lets you know what you were going to be in for the next hour or so. Like it was good. It was witty. Like the credits, like the little jokes inside the credits, were just hilarious, and it kind of let you know, all right, don't worry, this movie's going to have the action. It's going to be funny. It lets you know right off the jump.
Yeah. From honestly, this entire opening, you get the opening credits and you get the car ride, Deadpool meeting Dopinder. He's just like messing around with the car. He's so fidgety, like looking at the pamphlets. The Ghost Tour or whatever that he picks up. Segway Ghost Tour.
Yeah. Yeah, this whole really, I like the whole structure of how they told the story here. The whole what do you call that? Like a plot device or a just a vehicle, but it was nice to jump right into the action and then kind of tell some story behind it and keep coming back. That was I think that was a good idea rather than a slow start.
Yeah. Happy convivial Tuesday in April to you too, Mr. Poole.
The fact he didn't have
love that line.
So you get a high five.
Yeah, crisp high five. I don't put my wallet in the suit. It ruins the lines. Of course, this is also where you get the. I guess you could really throw these three scenes together. The Deadpool breaks the fourth wall for the first time. Talks about Wolverine. It's got a nice pair of smoothies down under. Yeah, pretty good. The Highway Assault, Megasonic and Colossus intro. Protein bar, good for bones. Deadpool might try to break yours.
It's so funny because, like, I mean, them moving the plot along and like showing up and stopping Deadpool from like killing Ajax right then and there is, and him breaking his hands off of Colossus, and he just keeps throwing limbs at him. Like, stop.
The T-Rex is the most feared of all the dinosaurs. Yeah. Oh, Canada! Yeah, there's like a lot of really good bits there. The shot of the bullet going straight up Main Street. It ends right there to see the smoke coming out. Which, of course, you mentioned the structure, Walker, going into the Wade and Vanessa meet cute / their love montage.
Yeah, I loved their back and forth, their banter. It was something new and very funny. Also, it was fun to call it back later. Yeah,
it was just really, really good, really witty, really fun. The celebrating of the different holidays, doing different sexcapades during the holidays, celebrating International Women's Day, of course. Just a lot of really funny stuff. Observing Lent. It's just
peaceful.
Yeah. It's just great. Of course, though, like, you get the more serious scene. So Wade's doctor appointment. Again, like, this is where the movie knows when to be serious. And Ryan Reynolds, who is an incredibly talented actor, like, he really is. Like, he can turn up the comedy and everything like that, but he can also be serious and sincere. And this is one of those serious and sincere scenes where his reaction to getting diagnosed with terminally ill cancer and the lines that he says of she's thinking of plot A, B, and C. Meanwhile, I'm just trying to memorize the details of her face.
Yep.
Like, it's the first time I'm seeing him. And it's like, it's very, very touching. And again, heartfelt and sweet. In a movie that is incredibly irreverent.
Yeah, I mean, you felt the gravity of the situation in that doctor's office and how serious she was, and just knowing how playful they usually are together, and just seeing that face that she was wearing where she was like locked in, trying to figure out what can be done, if anything can be done.
Yeah.
And the only thing he can focus on is like her and preserving what they have. He doesn't want the cancer to be what they become. And I mean, anybody going through like a terminally sickness, that's it just shows both sides of it. Like the denial, like we're going to fight this, the acceptance. I feel like it was such a good scene that really came out of nowhere because we were just laughing and having a good time, and then boom, like the brakes just like it's come to a screeching halt and reality sets in.
Yeah, and there's some realness there too with the cancer doesn't just affect you, it's also about how it affects the ones around you. And it is a shit show. It is a, what does he say it? It's a something opening up for the spin doctors at the Iowa State Fair shit show. And it's there's some realness there, as someone who, lost their father to cancer, and whose mom has battled cancer twice now, still battling cancer. She's a fighter. She's so strong and inspiration to me always, my mama. But like, it's real, and it hits a nerve. And it brings it down, but it's still Deadpool. And it's able to show the seriousness while also being funny. Which goes into the next scene that you kind of talked about, Ja-Bari. The Colossus tries to stop Deadpool and Megasonic. Like, the banter between him and Megasonic is awesome. I love it.
You got me in a box here.
Yeah. Aha! Yeah. It's great. Of course, the the T-Rex is the most feared of all the dinosaurs. The oh Canada, the cockshot, your poor wife. The
I read.
incredibly dark comment when he's like sawing off his hand. Are you there, God? It's me, Margaret. Money shot. So gross.
Yeah. I read somewhere that the reason why they were going to pick another Teenage Mutant, and then they saw that name, and we have to have Deadpool say this the entire movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that's why they went with Teenage Negasonic, like Negasonic Teenage Warhead.
Yeah, Megasonic Teenage. What the shit? That's the coolest name ever. Yeah. Yeah, just super, super freaking funny. I think that's that's Carly's favorite scene in the movie is Colossus trying to stop Deadpool. The one-legged man, the ass-kicking contest. Wade escapes from where he's being tortured. The
fire scene.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, for me, the most memorable scene of this movie, the scene, this is weird to say, but the scene that, 10 years later, or probably, 5 years since I've seen it, that has stuck with me, that I probably honestly think about every month or so in my life, is the oxygen thing.
Yeah.
That struck a chord with me when it happened, of like sounding so miserable and so just devastating. I mean, I think about it like monthly ever since I've seen the movie. I mean, I constantly think like that would probably be the worst thing you could possibly get stuck in. And watching
for an entire weekend.
Yeah. I mean, it whatever their goal was with that to make you feel, it made me feel.
Yeah.
Just wanted to throw that in there.
It's the worst kind of hell. You're getting enough to live, but you're not getting as much as it's somewhere in between dying and living, and you're kind of in the middle, and it's the worst. They do a great job of capturing that.
Definitely made me feel uncomfortable the first time I saw it, and even rewatching the movie, I was like, man, that is hell. And when he was like, see you at the end of the weekend, I forgot that he was in there that long, like experiencing that and just being left to his thoughts. I mean, oof. It just makes you itch just thinking about it.
Horrific, where you see it coming up his skin, and then you see the reflection in the glass. He says, "This is a love story." No, this is a horror film. And then that scream he lets out. It's horrifying. But I love the escape sequence, mostly because of just the sheer amount of brutality that's in it.
Yeah.
It is pretty creative, too, a naked fight scene. It's pretty creative.
Yeah.
I mean, I was so happy, like, when he got it, I was like, yes, kick his ass. I mean, I know he wasn't going to beat him right then and there, but, like, just the fact that he was finally able to get his get back even a little bit felt good.
Yeah. Yeah. Deadpool hunts down Francis montage.
Hilarious. And, I mean...
Oh, yeah, going through...
the yelling of his name at every henchman. Where's Francis?
Yeah. I love the song, the Captain Deadpool song.
Yeah, that was fun. That whole joke was funny when he was like, Deadpool, Captain Deadpool.
Well, when they're going back and forth, I should even mention that when they're going back and forth on the name, or not back and forth on the name, but back and forth in the, like, just dunking on how he looks now.
Yeah. TJ Miller always does a good job in that level of. He was good in one of the Transformers movies, I think.
Yeah. I hate that they don't like each other, like, because they're great on screen together. Like,
yeah.
Oh, they don't like each other in real life. That's right.
No.
Yeah.
They don't. I don't think that they like each other. I also think TJ Miller might not be the best person in the world.
No.
Didn't he? Does he have issues with other people?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. We talked about something else with him that he had a not a good relationship with.
but in this movie, he's freaking hilarious. The you look like you was it face fucked a geotopical map of Utah.
Yeah.
You look like an avocado had sex with an older,
With the older,
uglier avocado, and
but they
there's
weren't in
just a
love. This
that they
was
weren't in love, just a lot of hate fucking, and that was the only logical catharsis that they could find without escalating to violence. It's like, oh my god, it's like that's so specific. Um, but yeah, that's funny. But again, the montage of him finding out like the suit and the Zamboni. Tell me where your
That's
boss is, or you're gonna die in 5 minutes. Yeah, it's just
and
great.
culminating in like him killing like the Agent Smith dude, which
Yeah. This
I
is
wish
not
he
going
would
to end
like
well for you now.
turn in the camera. Like you don't want to see this.
Yeah. Yeah, just so good. Uh, Wade's tiny hands
Yeah,
when he
that's funny.
when he goes up to like rub her face, it like I just remember cackling in the theater. I still do. It's so freaking funny.
About the size of a KFC Sport.
I bet it feels huge in this hand.
Yeah, you want to get out of here.
God, yeah. I speaking of banter, the banter he has with Blind Al is
Yeah, it's very funny.
great. Love it, love it. Uh,
And like you don't even need exposition to explain their relationship. You know what it is the second they start talking to each other.
yep.
I love it.
Uh, Stanley cameo. You can't buy love, but you can rent it for 3 minutes.
I forgot about this. It was great. It was funny.
Yeah, that was.
Stanley had to be in a strip club, which is crazy. He didn't even think about it.
Yeah. This is his best cameo, I think.
Easily.
Deadpool goes to the X Mansion.
Yeah,
I was
there's a scene in Deadpool 2 that I keep forgetting which one it's in, with like the meeting going on behind the door or whatever.
Yeah,
And I always thought that was funny. So I guess it's in 2, right?
yeah, that one's in 2. He's
But
like,
anyway,
where is everyone? Yeah,
yeah, it's always funny.
it's only just you two.
it's like the studio couldn't afford more X-Men. Yeah. Dopinder makes a confession when they hear the bump in the car and you hear someone go, ah!
Yeah, that's funny.
That whole bit of him whispering like I'm so proud of you. Kill him.
Kill him.
Kidnapper. Yeah. You know what to do. It's great. Of course, the when he gets in the wreck and you hear the ah, it's so messed up and so funny.
Yeah, I guess that's the B plot. Like, what happened to Dopinder?
Yeah. Win her over with your boyish charm, kidnapper. The 4 moments bit. He just takes him out halfway through the 4 moments, and Ray's revealed to Vanessa. It's very touching and sweet, and he holds true to his promise, playing Careless Whisper.
Yeah, yeah. It's not. Yeah, it is. It is sweet, and it's also funny when wasn't it Colossus? Is that his name? Where he's going through the bit and just like
Yeah.
I was waiting for
run
it.
it on and on. He's like, I'll look for the other 4 moments. It's fine.
Yeah. The Hugh Jackman bit. He like stapled Hugh Jackman's face.
Staple like right here on his forehead.
Yeah. It's so many great moments in here that I didn't even list. And it's hard. I didn't pick one. So I'm gonna let you guys decide like your best scenes and moments. Whichever one of you wants to go first can. I'm gonna wait till last because I'm still debating.
I'm an action guy, like especially with this movie. So definitely it was the montage of him like hunting down Francis. That was probably my favorite bit, and the evolution of Deadpool, like his little weird hoodie suit that he made at first. Because you see that a lot in superhero movies, but they just kind of showed how impractical that whole "let me make a costume for myself" thing is. And meeting the blind lady in the laundromat saying, "You need to just wear red, dumbass." and, and
Yeah.
then the Zamboni kill and the ending with him killing the Agent Smith dude just it topped it off for me.
Um, this movie's great, beginning to end. Really, I mean, and it's a non bathroom break movie. Like if you went to see it in theaters, there's never a lull where you could like take a break
No.
real quick. I mean, it's just beginning to end. Every scene is hilarious or badass or funny or whatever. I think I'm probably. I mean, it could be all of these really, but I'm gonna say the highway. You know, the at the beginning that you know the present day before when we keep having flashbacks to how I got there. I felt like that set the tone right away with what this is going to be, and it was sweet. I mean, you kind of cheat and say it includes like the opening credits or kind of part of it and stuff like that. Like I just thought that whole beginning run of him flipping the car and then having the shootout afterwards with the bullets and everything. It was just like, this is funny. It looks great. It's awesome action. I mean, it just really was like, okay, we're in for a ride right off the bat, and it held to it.
Well, I think I might like both of those are great choices, and I think I'm going to lean a little bit more towards Walker. Well, I think that scene too, that you're seeing Jabari, it perfectly captures the essence of Deadpool and is like the perfect balance of action and humor. It is the whole start of this movie perfectly sets the tone. Plus, you have that creative bit of, well, we have a limited budget. How do we get him? How do we use these 12 bullets? And they have like the countdown of the 12, the 11, all that stuff. It works really, really well. It's a great way to introduce this movie. I think I'm gonna lean more on the side of Walker on this one. However, I would not fault anyone for choosing the Captain Deadpool sexy motherfucker scene.
I just remembered the when you said the 12 bullets, and I was thinking about him later being like, you've seen what I can do with 12, and he leaves the duffel bag in the cab and he's like calling him, God.
That's how he ends up getting the wreck. Yeah. Worst scenes and moments, I'm gonna be honest, I don't have any. This thing is so damn tight. Like I there's not a moment in this movie where I'm like, I'm not feeling this. Like, or an error in this movie where I'm like, this didn't need to be here, or this didn't make any sense, or if there's just nothing in it that I'm like, this is bad. Like, no, this is such a tightly written, directed, and acted movie. There's nothing that that I could pick. It's very rare.
Yeah. It's any things I have on this movie are very nitpicky.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to nitpick either. I would have to sit and think, and if I have to do that, then there's really nothing.
Yeah. There's nothing glaring. Best performance, I feel like we're all in unison on this one. It's Ryan Reynolds. It's easy.
It has to be.
Yeah. There's no one else. Does this make sense award? I can really only think of one thing, and that is, does Francis have a healing power? It's never really established. They say he doesn't feel.
I don't think he does. I mean, I think I thought he said he does. I thought he said like
he wishes
when he was getting stitched up by the Mandalorian lady. I felt like he was like, I can't be. He was like, I wish I had his healing or something like that. But he does survive a lot of stuff. I mean, he gets stabbed. I mean, through the bridge.
Times. Yeah.
I don't like the one thing I don't like that's in every movie is that the fucking swords will go through a concrete wall, like through the person and through the wall afterwards.
So I had that in there, but there's actually a hole. So it's like you have the concrete, and then there's an opening, and then there's the big slab.
Okay.
So there's a little hole, because that was going to be in mine, and I was like, I don't like that. Like, I don't think.
I mean, and this is obviously a fantastical larger than life, you got to suspend disbelief anyway. But still, like in Breaking Bad, there's a scene where those twins drop that axe and it goes into the pavement.
Mm.
You know what I'm
Yeah,
talking
yeah,
about? Where like
yeah.
it lands like in the parking lot, and it's like, damn, I hate that. So,
Adamantium Max. Um, but to add to like the Francis Hillen thing, I feel like a lot of superhero movies they kind of lean on if you have superpowers, you have like an increased healing factor. But I thought his powers of not feeling pain was cool. The way I made it sense in my head is like if you don't feel pain, then you can use like 100% of like your body's potential at any moment. So maybe theoretically that can give you like superhuman strength, where like you can, because you know that first thing he like lifts the one of the like
Yeah.
buyers into the air with his hand, lets you know he has superhuman strength. I mean, at any given, you know, like when you are in like under stress and you can be super strong. So in my head, I'm like, well, maybe Francis is just always in that like kind of like fight mode where he can just use all his strength at once and not feel the pain. Because if you or me does something and exert, like you work out, like Ben, you know, some of those moments when you're in the moment, you can lift more than you ever can. But the
Yeah.
next day, you're going to be sore as hell.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've been there before.
Yeah,
Where you're
exactly.
like,
So
I
like,
regret this, especially as I've gotten older. I'm like, oh, this was a bad decision.
yeah, so that's how I made his powers make sense to me. I feel like the healing factor is always a cop out that they use in comic book movies. Like people get thrown around so much.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. I could see that. That's really it for that too. Again, this movie is very tight, very deliberate in everything that it does. MVP of the movie. I think this is a three-way tie between Rhett Reese, Paul Wernick, and Ryan Reynolds.
yeah, I mean, I think that's got to be it. If I'm having to narrow it down, I'm gonna have to go Ryan Reynolds again. But yeah, I think they're the real heroes. They deserve the credit.
Yep, the trio.
Yeah,
The
no
trio.
objections there.
Uh, at the end of the day, guys, why would you recommend this movie?
I think this movie transcends what it is. I mean, it knows what it is, it acts like what it is, and it still somehow gets elevated. I mean, I think whether you like comedies, whether you like action movies or superhero movies, or don't like superhero, I think this has a place on a lot of televisions. I think a lot of people could like it. I think you could take your girlfriend or your wife or your boy or whatever. Maybe one of you likes it and one of you's getting dragged along. I think you're both going to have a good time. I think it's fun. Um, I think the passion that was put into the project and is obvious and apparent. And I think it's just an excellent
Yeah,
film.
yeah, I agree. If you're just looking for a good time and action, comedy, and wants a movie that doesn't take itself too seriously, everybody doesn't get like a background exposition monologue thing. I mean, it just goes and doesn't stop. I mean, we've been talking about it the whole podcast. It's just it's just good.
Yeah, this movie is it's honestly like it's flawless. It's flawless in its execution. It is what it is. It goes above and beyond what it is. Um, it's one of those movies that transcends a genre and becomes so broad that it appeals to such a big audience that it captures all four quadrants. And it's very, very tough for movies, especially today, to do that. It is really, really tough. And I think that this movie really nailed it. And yeah, it's only 8 years old, but it is aged like a fine wine. It just gets better and better and better with each view. And not only that, but watching it in preparation for Deadpool and Wolverine has gotten me so much more excited for Deadpool and Wolverine. So yeah, that's why I would recommend this movie.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go watch 2 now. Get ready.
Yeah, man, gotta hear that Celine Dion song.
Oh, well, you got anything else?
Nah, man, I'm all tapped out.
Well, thank you both for hanging out with us. Thanks, Ja-Bari, for joining. Hope to have you back soon. It's a good time.
Always.
Thank you. What are we doing next?
So we got the fan vote for our fan vote of the month, and we had a tournament between Lake Placid and Deep Blue Sea, and then we in the first round, while also having True Lies and Anchorman, and True Lies got beat out narrowly by Anchorman. Deep Blue Sea got just completely dominated Lake Placid, and then it was a very close battle, surprisingly close battle between Deep Blue Sea and Anchorman, where I think it came down to one vote,
Wow.
and
Oh, wow.
Anchorman won. So we're gonna be doing Anchorman. I'm pretty excited about it. It is we dangerously run the risk, Walker, of just the entire podcast being us quoting it back and forth. So, so we got to be on our A game with that one. I'm very excited though. It's one of the most quotable movies of all time. So really excited.
Yeah, I'm excited too. That'll be fun. Well, thank you all again so much for listening. If you're hearing this on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, thanks for watching. If you're catching us on YouTube, please leave a comment down below telling us what you thought of Deadpool. Are you excited for Deadpool 3, Deadpool and Wolverine? Next time you'll be hearing us talk about Anchorman. But until then, this has been Ben and Walker, and we'll see you next time.